Have you ever wondered why certain societal norms exist? Why certain relationships are deemed inappropriate? Leviticus Chapter 18 might have some answers. Welcome to an exploration of one of the most intriguing parts of the Mosaic law, Leviticus Chapter 18. This chapter has been a cornerstone in shaping societal norms and perceptions regarding sexual morality for thousands of years. Diving deep into the heart of the Old Testament, Leviticus stands as the third book, a significant part of the Pentateuch. Chapter 18, in particular, is a fascinating study. It presents a comprehensive code of conduct outlining what is acceptable and what is not in terms of relationships and sexual behavior. This examination will break down key themes such as obligations to God's laws, forbidden relationships, prohibited practices, and the consequences of disobedience. We'll also explore its relevance in today's world. As we dive into this chapter, let's open our minds to the teachings of the past and see how they connect to our present. The chapter begins with God speaking to Moses, outlining the obligations of the Israelites in adhering to his laws. This moment is monumental, as it establishes the divine authority of God's laws over any societal or cultural norms. It's a powerful reminder that the laws set forth by the Creator are not mere suggestions or guidelines, but rather they are divine mandates that require strict adherence. This part of Leviticus chapter 18 is a testament to the weight of divine law. It underscores the reality that these laws are not human constructs, but are divine in origin. They are not subject to change according to societal trends or personal preferences. They stand as unchanging and eternal truths, reminders of the divine order that governs the universe. Obedience to these laws is not presented as an option, but rather as an obligation. This obligation is not merely about adhering to a set of rules, but rather it's about maintaining a strong and vibrant relationship with God. Obedience to God's laws is presented as a pathway to a deeper and more meaningful connection with the divine. These laws are not burdensome restrictions, but rather they are life-giving instructions. They are designed to guide the Israelites, and indeed all of humanity, towards a life of fulfillment and purpose. They are meant to protect us from harm and guide us towards a life that is in harmony with God's intentions for us. The importance of obedience to these laws cannot be overstated. It is through obedience that we align ourselves with God's will. It is through obedience that we demonstrate our love and respect for God. It is through obedience that we fulfill our divine purpose and maintain societal order and moral purity. These verses set the stage for the specific laws that will follow, emphasizing the need for obedience to maintain societal order and moral purity. This is not just about following rules, it's about aligning our lives with the divine blueprint for a fulfilling and purposeful life. It's about living in harmony with God's laws and experiencing the peace and joy that comes from walking in obedience to Him. Next, we find a detailed list of forbidden relationships, which may seem extensive but had a profound impact on societal norms. In Leviticus chapter 18, the Creator sets forth a series of relationships that are considered inappropriate, each with its own significant implications. Firstly, the chapter addresses familial relationships. It prohibits marital and sexual relationships between close relatives, including parents and children, siblings, and even extended family members like uncles and aunts. This edict wasn't merely about preventing genetic issues that might arise from inbreeding. It was about safeguarding the sanctity and respect within a family. Imagine the chaos that could ensue if such boundaries weren't clearly defined. Next, the text forbids relationships with a mother and her daughter or a father and his son. This prohibition extends to both biological and stepchildren, reflecting the broader principle of maintaining respect and order within blended families. It's a recognition that these relationships are, first and foremost, parental and should remain untainted by other forms of intimacy. The chapter then moves on to discuss relationships with in-laws. Marrying a mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, or sister-in-law is deemed unacceptable. This law underscores the importance of preserving the integrity of marital relationships and preventing potential conflicts that could disrupt family harmony. Moreover, relationships with a neighbor's wife are sternly prohibited, stressing the importance of respect for the marital bonds of others. This in turn fosters a sense of community trust and cohesion. Lastly, the text prohibits relationships with animals, indicating a clear boundary between humans and the rest of the animal kingdom. This law emphasizes the unique dignity and responsibility humans have in the grand tapestry of life. Each of these prohibitions, while specific, served a greater purpose: to prevent chaos, maintain familial respect, and uphold the sanctity of relationships. They were not arbitrary, but thoughtfully designed to foster a harmonious and respectful society. These laws, while specific, played a crucial role in defining acceptable behavior and maintaining the sanctity of family relationships. And so we see how even ancient texts can offer us insight into the building blocks of a harmonious society. As we move further into the chapter, it outlines several prohibited practices, some of which may seem obscure today. These prohibitions are not arbitrary, but instead they serve as a guide to maintaining moral purity and devotion to God. Firstly, the chapter strongly condemns sexual immorality in various forms. It cautions against incest, adultery, homosexuality, and bestiality, to name a few. It's important to note that the context here is not about degrading or shaming individuals, but rather about promoting a sacred view of human relationships and sexuality. The chapter emphasizes the sanctity of the marriage bed, the importance of family structure, and the dignity of every human being. Secondly, the chapter warns against idolatry and the practices associated with it. It advises against offering children to Molech, a form of child sacrifice, and condemns the consultation of mediums and spiritists. The chapter underscores that these practices are abhorrent to God and are a direct violation of our relationship with Him. It teaches us to love, honor, and worship God alone. In this age, we may not encounter these exact practices, but the principles behind these prohibitions remain relevant. Sexual immorality, in its modern forms, still causes harm and breaks the harmony of relationships. Idolatry, while it may not involve physical idols, can still manifest in the form of excessive devotion to material possessions, power, or status. These prohibitions remind us of our moral obligations and the need for self-control, respect for others, and devotion to God. They teach us to value the sanctity of life, the importance of purity, and the significance of maintaining a right and respectful relationship with God and with one another. In essence, these prohibitions are not about restrictions, but about freedom. Freedom from harm, freedom from guilt, and freedom to live a life that is pleasing to God and beneficial to ourselves and others. These prohibitions, while specific, highlight the importance of moral purity and devotion to God above all else. The chapter concludes with a stern warning about the consequences of disobedience to these laws. As we venture further into the text, we find that these laws aren't mere suggestions or guidelines. Rather, they are divine commands. And disobedience carries with it severe consequences. The verses outline a grim scenario where the land itself becomes defiled due to the transgressions of its inhabitants. Imagine, if you will, a lush, fertile landscape brimming with life. Now picture that same landscape blighted and barren because the people living on it chose to disregard sacred laws. This is the stark image these verses conjure. The land, it seems, is more than just a passive backdrop to our lives. It absorbs our actions, our choices, and reflects them back to us in its own health and vitality. Not only is the land affected, but the people themselves face dire consequences. The verses warn that those who disobey these laws will be cut off from their community. In a time when community was everything, this was a fate worse than death. To be cut off was to lose one's identity, one's place in the world. It was to become a stranger in one's own land. But why such severe consequences? Well, they serve a crucial role. They underscore the gravity of these laws, the importance of obedience to them. When the stakes are this high, one is less likely to stray from the righteous path. The consequences also serve as a deterrent, a stark reminder of the potential fallout of disobedience. They act as a moral compass guiding individuals and communities towards adherence to these divine laws. In essence, these consequences aren't merely punitive, they are a form of divine guidance, steering us towards a life of righteousness and away from the path of transgression. These verses serve as a reminder of the heavy cost of disobedience, reinforcing the importance of adherence to God's laws. Having explored Leviticus Chapter 18 in detail, one might question its relevance in our modern world. Yet as we delve into this, we find that the enduring themes of societal norms, sexual morality, and obedience to God's laws are as pertinent today as they were millennia ago. These themes, deeply woven into the fabric of our society, continue to shape our collective behavior, ethics, and moral compass. Take, for instance, societal norms. Even in our progressive era, the societal constructs outlined in Leviticus Chapter 18 still find resonance, guiding our interactions and dictating acceptable behavior. The same holds true for sexual morality. While our understanding and acceptance of diverse sexual orientations have evolved, God's laws do not evolve. They exist for a reason, and we may not yet fully comprehend the wisdom in those laws. Obedience to God's laws, regardless of one's faith, often translates into a commitment to ethical living, shaping our individual and communal decisions. As we close, remember that while the world around us changes, the moral principles embedded in texts like Leviticus Chapter 18 continue to guide us in navigating the complexities of life. Are you ready for the next chapter? Just click here to go straight to it.